Hey everybody, it's Boardman21, and today we're gonna do the updated 1000 wave Spellblade build. And unfortunately, it has changed quite a bit. It did take some heavy hits in patch 7.8, and I'm just gonna tell you now, it's not gonna feel as smooth or do as well as it did in patch 7.7. With that said, you can still get kind of ridiculous amounts of ward, but with some of the new mobs that pop up in the game, you're just not going to go as far. You can pretty much go as long as you don't get two or more fire golems in the same arena wave, or at least that's how it was looking for me. I did 4 pushes with it. Our farthest push hit wave 218, and we got 2 fire golems, and we just got annihilated. Unfortunately, you have to use focus, and you just have to stay in one spot too long to get mana back. And when there's 2 fire golems offsetting their special attacks on you, there's just nowhere to hide, and their range is ridiculous. You can't really get close with your melee skill ShatterStrike, and unfortunately, it's just not going to do as well in this patch. With that said, this was the one that people wanted the most, the first one, and I don't think it's going to be the meta build in this patch, but it is still capable of doing quite well. And actually, on the ladder right now, we are actually ranked number 3 with it. So it's not horrible, but it's also not going to be the best. But with that, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to show you what I changed. I did get the new gear already. We have the new chest. Unfortunately, the helm is going to be the same unique because you can't really get a better in slot. And we did try out the new boots. But with that, with the nerf to ward retention, with the nerf to ward on hit, with the nerf to everything that basically this build needed, it's just not as good. But let's get into it and I'll show you what I got. Alright, for skills, we're going to be running Teleport, Flame Ward, ShatterStrike, Enchant Weapon, and Focus. You'll notice that we got rid of Mana Strike, and the reason that we got rid of Mana Strike is because Mana Strike now, one, the new mobs are just not made for it. Like, you don't really have good mob density anymore. There's a lot more often you're going to find yourself doing one-on-one with the new mobs, especially the fire golems or the tsunami chicks. I don't know what they're called. They also kind of nerfed it. I was going to change it into a ranged skill, but they nerfed it another 10% on the mana gained for the ranged mode, so it's negative 80 instead of negative 70. And with that, we ended up just not even trying it. We just went back to Enchant Weapon. Flame Ward also got a bit of a nerf, but you still need it for the ward in this build. But let's go ahead and get a skill. So for Teleport, we're using it the exact same. You're going to use it for some ward retention and for the decoys. So we got 4 points in Plasma Protection, 1 point in Decoy Position, 2 points in Uncontrolled Duplication, 1 point in Unexpected Copy, and 1 point in Stable Duplicates. On the ward side, we have 5 points in Ether Barrier, 1 point in Out of Mind, and 5 points in Stable Bubble. For Flame Ward, this skill has changed quite a bit. You will notice that we're putting into damage reduction now, and then also a little bit of damage. So we do not want to do the charges. If you take the charges, you can no longer auto cast it, which means that you're going to have to manually do it. And when you're in a combat situation, when you're trying to avoid the hits and pay attention to that, you don't want to see how many charges you have left, or if you're hitting it and it's not actually there because you don't have charges, then it's not really an oh shit button. It's, oh man, I didn't even have it. So we just like to use it on auto cast, and for that, we're going to keep 5 points in Star Ward Defense. For the 200 ward gained, we have 5 points in Barrier for 40% less hit damage, which is a huge damage reduction for us. And then we have 3 points in Dilation for increased duration, 3 points in Energize for ward per second, and 2 points in Recollection for the ward retention, and 2 points in Infusion for some increased fire damage. Now you'll say, why would we do fire damage? Honestly, you could put these 2 points anywhere else that you wanted, but we do have Ignite when we hit, so you are doing some fire damage, and it's just that Ignite does a little bit more. For ShatterStrike, we changed up ShatterStrike a little bit. So they have really buffed up freeze in this patch, and we wanted to take advantage of that. So since we're unable to be able to stand still and not be hit, we needed to get some sort of CC into the mix. And stun locking enemies looks like it's super powerful, and we'll get into that on other builds. But for this, we wanted to get as much freeze. And because on armor, you can get increased freeze multiplier chance based on how many stacks of chill are on the enemy, we wanted to put chill. And in ShatterStrike, you can actually get a 100% chance to chill on hit, and you're doing 3 hits with 1 skill use, so you're getting 3 buff stacks of that freeze multiplier, and that really helps freeze enemies. So we were actually able to freeze a lot of mobs very often, and that was kind of our CC so that we could get our mana back and use focus when they were frozen and take less damage while we were doing that. So super helpful. You do a little less damage. We took out of the attack speed a little bit with it. We also took out of the mana efficiency. ShatterStrike is now a more expensive skill. I believe it's costing 39 mana right now, and that's unfortunate. That's the maximum that you can make it cost. And if it would have been 40, we could have put some points into the Sorcerer tree to get that 70 ward for casting each skill that's over 40 mana cost. But we couldn't do it. They obviously thought around that and made 39 the max you get. But with that, we have 2 points in Lingering Chill, 1 point in Breath of Cold, 2 points in Whiteout, 3 points in Ice Blink, 1 point in Obliteration with 1 point in Rim Strike, 2 points in Shiver, 1 point in Icy Flow, 2 points in Frostbitten, 4 points in Razor Ice, and 1 point in Chill Flame. You still need that Ignite to Frostbite conversion, and it still does really good damage. For Enchant Weapon, you would set it up like you would normally do for an Ice build. You're going to have 5 points in Shivering Blade, 5 points in Celerity, 1 point in Frozen Sparks, 5 points in Frost Brand, and 4 points for that active duration increase of concentration. And then for focus, same exact setup. You're still wanting as much mana, some haste after you've focused, and then the full ward gained and ward retention out of it. So we have 4 points in Desperate Meditation, 4 points in Mana Flooded, 3 points in Energy Battery, 1 point in Energy Infusion, 3 points in Everward, and 5 points in Mind's Shield. For passives, we have 21 points in the base class. These passives have changed. This might not be the most optimized way, but this is what I went with, and it worked quite well. We have 8 points in Scholar for that increased mana, 8 points in Arcanist for that intelligence. You're going to want as much of that as possible. And then we put 5 points in Mage Flurry for increased attack speed. There's also some good freeze rate multiplier here, so you can also go into that and have a much higher chance of freezing. You can get another 100% freeze rate multiplier. And you can, if you really want to go for as much freeze possibility for that CC and try and survive that way, I would recommend probably putting some points into that. We have 18 points in Sorcerer with 8 points in Mana Shell for the mana and 10 points in Wisdom for that intelligence plus mana. Same exact setup as last time. And in Spellblade, we have 75 points. We have 5 points in Arcane Warden, 8 points in Infused Weapon, 1 point in Elemental Affinity, 10 points in Infernal Imbuement, 10 points in Volcanic Blade, 15 points in Triple Strike, 5 points in Mind Slayer, 15 points in Arcane Forge, 1 point in Shiver Armor, and 5 points in Mind Flame. For items. So for items, we're running the exact same idols. We're still going to use the 1x3s that have the Ignite on hit chance along with the ward gained on melee hit. And then we went with ward retention on all our 1x1s on the bottom. Okay, and then for the uniques, we still have the Eye of Rain for that Ignite on melee hit. We still have the Bone Climber Barbuette, which turned out to be better than what you could craft with the new helms, because this one gives ward per second, and that 13 int and 13 dex is more than you can craft on an item, so it's just really helpful. However, our chest piece is new, so we now get a 262% freeze rate multiplier. I believe, what can you get on that? You can get up to 275, so we got a really good roll on this one on this find. And then we went with int dex, and then we get an additional 87% freeze rate per stack of chill. And that's a T5 roll, almost towards max. We got a good drop on that one. And then the other one we have is mana spent gained as ward, and we got 52% of mana spent as ward. That's a huge one. That's what helps you keep the ward up in this one, since they nerfed it a bit. And what's nice about that freeze rate is, since every attack is putting 3 stacks of chill on, that's 240% increased freeze rate. So once you've done 2 or 3 casts of ShatterStrike on an enemy, especially bosses, you'll notice you start to freeze them, and it's super effective. The boots are also new. We went with Glancing Blow, Intelligence, Dodge, and Chance to Slow Attackers. You can change out that Chance to Slow Attackers with Critical Strike Avoidance. We don't have 100%, but we didn't craft this fully all out. But it also comes with Ward Retention. Not very much, 11%, but that's better than the other boots we had that didn't come with any Ward Retention, so we went with these. And then all the other gear is the exact same. You're basically just going for melee attack speed and Intelligence, Dodge Rating, Critical Strike Avoidance, Glancing Blow. those types of things. I'll just hover over all of them real quick. You know, chance to slow attackers, shock enchanters, all of that stuff. And yeah, we did recraft and get some higher rolls on our amulet, but that's it for the items. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the gameplay.